Hello everyone, today I've decided to do a bit of a commentary over one of my drawings as a fun little idea of something I could do, extra content, something fun, hopefully. um, and I was thinking of random things that I could talk about, and in light of a tweet of mine that recently became terrifyingly popular, at least for me anyway, um, I decided why not explain a bit of the weird little Digimon artist lore, I guess, over here of what the heck is my whole deal with Piedmon because uh well, if I was legitimately shocked by the number of people who actually agreed with me. I legitimately shocked and surprised by yeah. Um I do this has been a thing for a very long time, and I feel like occasionally whenever it gets brought up, people are like, "Oh, huh, that's your favorite Digimon." Okay. Which I feel like is a fact that is usually met with some kind of odd like fascination or a weird like I'm sorry, what? kind of like surprised but not really judgmental reaction. And then, of course, people ask why, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Mm. So I thought I would try to actually like sit down and try and explain it because it's a surprisingly long story, I guess. I mean, obviously, the summary is, the summary of why anyone likes anything. I just do. Like, that's the long and short of it, right? Like, you can try to justify why you like things, but opinions are kind of at the end of the day just your own brain's decision on, I like this thing or I don't like this thing. There's not always like a logic. You can try to figure out what the reasoning is, but, like, you could say, oh, I really like, you know, the color blue, but then it's like, okay, but why do you like blue? Like, how do you explain that? Like, eventually you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, how do you explain that? So I'm going to try to explain it. um, yeah, so I guess it's, on one hand, it's kind of a difficult thing to describe because I feel like my appreciation and my love for Piedmon is very much a chicken and the egg kind of situation where it happened when I was so young that I don't really remember how it started. I know that since I was a kid, I have always like really liked clowns. I don't know why. Uh, it's just something about the aesthetic of it, the fun colors, the goofiness, the energy, and I don't know. I just think it's fun. I think it's very fun, like clowns and jesters, harlequins, any kind of like fun, especially if it's like theatrical, is great. Um, I love that sort of thing, and it's always just so fun, and I don't know. So yeah, I've always loved things that were themed around that. And then I think, and then of course, you have a Digimon. And when I was a kid, I loved Digimon. I still love Digimon. And so it's like, okay, well, that plus that equals love of this Digimon, right? Okay. So cool. I have a favorite Digimon. My favorite Digimon is Piedmon. By the way, my favorite Pokemon is Mr. Mime, in case you were wondering. I'm consistent, if anything. My second favorite Pokemon is Raichu. That's more of a normal answer. So if you want my normal answer, it's Raichu. If you want my honest answer, it's Mr. Mime. um, like I could go into like the deep dark, technically kind of sad story of like I think why I became so fixated. Um, because when you're a kid, it's pretty common for kids to develop like a fixation on something. Like you have the very classic like boys love dinosaurs and girls love horses, and and obviously those kind of stereotypes are annoying, but kids usually develop a fixation on something. There's usually a thing that a kid is just like, this is the most amazing thing that this world has to offer to me, and I love it to death. And kids will like get posters and books and maybe if they're artistic, they'll draw the thing that they love so much. And for me, it was clowns. I feel like I had this like weird situation where as a kid I liked this thing and then I was not allowed to enjoy it. Without getting too deep into it, I had a parent who was not extremely supportive, to put it lightly. And you might think like, okay, so what? Your mom didn't let you have clown themed? Yeah, no. I wasn't allowed to have anything clown themed. Which, you might think like, oh, well, that's not a big deal. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's not earth-shattering. It's not world-ending. It's not, it's not the end of the goddamn world, and I'm not trying to claim it's the end of the goddamn world. But as sort of an explanation, I think one of the reasons I never actually, like, grew out of it was because of the fact that it remained this thing that I wasn't really allowed, I wasn't allowed to enjoy. It was something I liked, but I felt like I couldn't like it. Like, so it kind of became this thing that I had to, like, I wasn't allowed to have any, like, actual, like, contact with. And I think, again, that was another reason why it became such a fixation for me. And again, I've loving Digimon as long as I have, and that entire time it just became the best Digimon to me. I actually remember being a kid and being very, very frustrated that I couldn't draw a Piedmon properly. I kind of wish I still had old drawings when I was a kid, like a kid, because I know for a fact I did my damnedest to try. I think the earliest drawings I have are like from when I was like 16. Well, no, it would have been younger than that, like 14 or 15 probably. And I can maybe show some of those. I think I have pictures of them. I can try to find them. But yeah, I think the lack of ability to like to just be a kid and like have this thing that's like, oh, this is amazing, and then to not be allowed to like actually like it almost like made the fixation stronger in a weird way, where it's like, I want to, draw this thing. I want to have, circus themed posters and dolls and clown, like, gesture related, like, things. Like, I remember very clearly there was a point when, because my family didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so one thing that my mom in particular would do, which in hindsight was a really smart idea actually, was she would just take me and my brother to like thrift stores or to like antique shops and places that sold stuff but wasn't like things were typically used and not as expensive as a brand new like toy off the shelf. And it was kind of cool to just like be taken to those places and told, hey, you can get something, like, because nothing in those places is usually that expensive, especially not the things that a kid's gonna want. So, I remember being pretty young, and we were taken to one of those, like, little thrift shops. And I remember finding, and we were told we could get whatever we want. I think the limit was, like, $20. Like, don't go over, like, $20. And I was like, okay, yeah, easy. And so, yeah, so she just told us, like, yeah, go look around, find something, and, find a new toy to play with, basically. And I found the thing that I thought was the most amazing thing in the whole damn world, and it was an old tin Jack in the Box. Like, an actual, like, tin box, little pop-up Jack in the Box toy that had the little crank on the side, and it played Pop Goes the Weasel, and it was just, I wanted it so bad. I was like, oh my god, it's not in bad condition. I remember it had like, it was a little scuffed up, but like it was still in like surprisingly good condition. It had like some small dents, but like it worked. The music played clearly, the crank worked, the jack in the box popped out the way it was supposed to. And I remember being like, oh my god, this is amazing. And it was like $10, and I was like, oh my god, perfect. It cost nothing. And it might have even been less than that. I can't remember exactly how much it cost. I just remember thinking, oh my god, it's so cheap. This is great. This is amazing. It's cheap. I can have this. And I remember taking it to my mom and her looking at it and going, no, absolutely not. And at first, as a kid, I think like, oh, it's because of the noise. She doesn't want something that makes noise. Don't worry. And I kept telling her like, I will not play it when you're home. I'll just leave it open and I'll put it on my desk and I'll just keep it. And she's like, nope, you can't have it. You can't have it. And she never told me to my face that it was that she had a fear of clowns. Like, which honestly, I think if she had just told me that, honestly would have been better. Because as a kid, I didn't really get it. Because to me, it's like, these are fun things. They make you smile and they make you happy. So like, I never understood that people had phobias of them. Like, I get that now. Like, some people are very unsettled. And I understand that. But like, when you're a kid, you don't, especially if no one tells you. And that's not even taking into account that even if you had a phobia, like, you know, I have a terrible phobia of spiders, but that hasn't stopped me from buying my little brothers, you know, bug toys, you know, because they think spiders are cool. You know, it's like, you can put your fear of something aside for someone else's happiness. It just feels weird to tell your kid, like, no, you can't have this thing that you really, really want because I just don't like how it looks. Like, it's so... Anyway, there were two, and that was only like one instance. There was actually another instance, I'm pretty sure happened before that, when I was even like younger. Like, very vague memories, because I would have been 10, maybe even like 9. I would have been young. Just based on the house I remember this person living in. And it was, my family's very complicated. There's a lot of, you know, split relationships, new relationships. So basically it would be essentially my grandmother's house, though it's technically not my grandmother. She's one of the people my grandfather remarried, but then later broke up with again anyway. So it's confusing. Basically, you could just say family friend that occasionally babysat us. So that makes it easier. Family friend that occasionally babysat us. So, and she had a doll collection. She loved collecting porcelain dolls, those like dolls that just like, I know there's a name for them. I can't remember what they're called, but they're the ones with like the nice clothes and the very nice dresses, and usually collectors keep them in their box, but she just had like these shelves that were like just low enough below her ceiling that they could sit like right on that shelf and just be along the whole perimeter of the room. And I remember we had gone over there and she had like just recently gotten a few new ones, I think, and had put them up on the shelf. And I saw that she had a little like clown doll. And, you know, I obviously was like, ooh, that's my favorite. And she was like, oh, you can play with it. And she took it off the shelf and let me play with it while we were visiting. Well, when we were going to go home that day, you know, my mom came to pick me and my brother up. She was like, okay, well, you know, give the toy back and let's go home. Well, the family friend, seeing how as I had played with this toy all day and obviously really liked it, was like, oh no, you can keep it. And my mom, again, this person is just saying, hey, you can have this. I don't need it. I've got all of these other ones. I'm fine with you having this if you enjoy it so much. And my mom was still like, no, you can't have it. You can't keep it. It's not, no, absolutely not. And again, it's like, it's such a like weird, it's such a weird thing. And like, I have like very complicated relationships and feelings with my mother, but I just can't understand the mindset of like I get it. Phobia, she almost certainly, in hindsight, like me thinking of all of these different instances, definitely has calrophobia. But like, even if you do, like, you can just ask your kid not to play with it around you. Like, at the very least, just say that stays in your room. Like, why do you have to like say, no, this person is trying to give you a gift and I don't like it, so the answer is no. And it's like, oh, it's so like soul crushing to a child to be like, someone is giving this to you. It's not even like they're saying you have to buy it. There's nothing attached to it. They're just saying, hey, I can tell you enjoyed this. You can have it. And then your parent goes, no. I think that I sort of like this small like fixation I had as a child on things that were like clown and jester related kind of became this like thing of like, I was never allowed to have it, but I still really liked it and I still really enjoyed it. You know, that's not even taking into account the like the Digimon, the whole like fantasy of Digimon was this idea of a person who is deemed special, is sent to a new world. You're taken away from the life that you have currently, which sadly or not very much appeals to me. And especially as a child, someone who had no friends and difficulties communicating with anyone, including their parents and including loved ones and family, and you know, just was very much like boxed by their own inability to communicate. You know, that whole idea of like, you're special, you have this friend who will always stick by you and will always be there for you, like always be there for you, and you can go on adventures and you can do fun stuff and you don't have to worry about terrible, like, you don't have to worry about life, and you don't have to worry about parents, and you don't have to worry about adults, and you don't have to worry about all this other awful stuff that life can throw at you. You just get to have all the fun. But yeah, so it's always been a sort of style that I've always really liked, and I've always thought was fun. I love theater-related things, and like all of that kind of like entertainment, like flashy, like magic shows and theater and those kinds of like performance art kind of stuff is always super appealed to me, and Piedmon is literally all of that all wrapped up into one. I also like spooky things, and he's also got that like kind of spooky edge to him of like, ooh, it's a virus Digimon, it's kind of scary and it can do magic and it's unpredictable, and I've always loved that too. You know, virus Digimon in general are just kind of my favorite. I guess in summary, the reason why I like Piedmon is, so I guess the TLDR for this video, which I guess that doesn't really work in hindsight, is just that I think clowns are neat. And Piedmon's a clown Digimon, so I think he's neat. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's always appealed to me. And obviously, you know, you go from being a kid that just is like, ooh, cool, and then you become an adult and you're like, okay, but it's also hot. You know. You grow up. You grow up. Your puberty hits you like a train, and you know. But yeah, it's always a Digimon it's always a fictional character in general that has always just meant a whole lot to me. Having a rough life and having a rough upbringing and not, you know, really being taken care of in the most like attentive way, and kind of being left to my own devices and kind of just you know, brushed to the side, and you know, you have to be able to entertain yourself. You have to be able to like keep yourself sane, and I think that's kind of just what I did. Is like I had this minor attachment to this kind of character, and then I just kind of projected all of my needs onto it, and it became like, this is my friend, this is fully understood that it wasn't real and it wasn't fake, or that it wasn't real and it was fake. But I also, I still liked to imagine, like, what would it be like to go on an adventure in the digital world? What would it be like to have this partner Digimon, and to, what kind of things could you do with that kind of partner, and what kind of, and just, having, this imaginary friend that could be there for you, because you didn't really have friends that you could go to, like. But yeah, more or less, I think that's all it is. I just think he's neat. I just think he's an amazing, fun, kind of spooky, drop-dead gorgeous, handsome, fictional character, and I have loved him in various ways since I was a child. Not really anything else to say, I guess. So, yeah, I hope you maybe enjoyed this video. Kind of a deep dive, I guess. Apologies if any parts of it were rambly or sad. Yeah. Thank you for listening, watching, if you've gotten this far, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.